All right, good Monday morning, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us here from the Action 2 News Digital News Desk. We're taking a live look at Oshkosh on this Monday, February 17th, where sturgeon spearing season still underway. Not quite as many shanties that we saw out there over the last week and a half, though, Tammy.
Right, and I'm wondering how many people are actually in those shanties with these temperatures this morning.
If they're in there, hopefully the heaters are going nice and strong for them this morning. Speaking of those temperatures, we want to bring in the man who's been tracking them all, Chief Meteorologist Steve Balon. Steve, good morning. Today, the first of 3 first alert weather days back to back to back. You really dialed up quite the start to a week for us here as you continue to track these frigid temperatures.
You know, selfishly speaking, I'd rather not. I'd rather not have 3 back to back to back, first alert weather days. But unfortunately, that is the length of time that we are going to be dealing with some dangerous wind chills across northeast Wisconsin. So we want to first alert and get that information out to people so they and their families can stay safe in this bitterly cold air. Here's a live view from our Green Bay sky cam. Yes, it's sunny here in Titletown, but our temperature is 2 below, wind chill minus 21. There is a blustery west wind at 14 miles an hour. So it's here, this Arctic air, and this is our next weather maker. Dangerous wind chills at times all the way through Wednesday morning. And the biggest thing is that it increases the risk of frostbite on your exposed skin. So, we don't want people to freeze their skin. That can be really a very dangerous thing. And I know Aisha Morales has been talking a lot about the dangers of frostbite and hypothermia in her First Alert Safety Desk reports. We want people to dress warmly and try to limit their time outside if they can. I know some people have to be outside because perhaps of their profession, for example, or whatever they're doing. But dress in layers to try to retain some of that body heat near you as much as you can. And with the wind chills getting down about 20 to 35 below this morning, and again tomorrow morning, not only should we watch over ourselves, but other people in our family that we love, our kids, our senior citizens, and our pets. All in all, our risk of severe weather this morning is in the moderate category. So a cold weather advisory continues across northeast Wisconsin until the noon hour. Perhaps you may recognize the phrase wind chill advisory. At least that's what the National Weather Service used to call it, but then they upgraded their terminology for this season and beyond. So this would be equivalent to a wind chill advisory, except now it's all encompassing whether there's wind outside or there's not. So right now the temperature is 2 below in Wapaka, Appleton, Manitowoc, 5 below in Oshkosh and in Fond du Lac, and similar temperatures in the north with this west wind cutting through around 10 to 15 miles an hour. So you can see what happens to our wind chills. Down to 17 below in Iron Mountain, 23 below for Sturgeon Bay and Sheboygan, and there's a minus 30 on the board for Rhinelander. So the coldest wind chills this morning have been in north central Wisconsin. Dangerous wind chills, and it will stay harsh through the afternoon. Bitter cold, a high of 6 degrees above zero later today. We will find that blustery west wind staying strong all the way into the evening hours, and thanks to a big sprawling area of Arctic high pressure building in, we will see mostly sunny skies. So here's First Alert Pinpoint Predictor tracking the winds, and you can see that hour by hour west winds will be sustained around 10 to 20 miles an hour with gusts closer to 25 miles an hour, and that's going to keep those wind chills in the 20s below zero right now with teens below zero as we head into the midday and the afternoon. Now, I would expect those high temperatures to only make it into single digits. Marinette might see a high of 10. Lucky for them, I suppose. But, compared to an average high temperature of 29 degrees, we're off the pace by quite a bit. In fact, our high temperatures in most spots will be about 20 to 25 degrees colder than typical for the end of February. We will see sunshine helping to try to get those temperatures into the single digits, but what's really going to help get those temperatures up is this lobe from the polar vortex to swing off to the east, and as it does, we will find our temperatures getting back to something more seasonable. Highs will eventually get into the teens and 20s later this week, and if all breaks just right, we may actually climb above the freezing mark as we go into Sunday. So there's your First Alert Super 7-day forecast, a high of 6 today, and then on Sunday a high of 36. So between now and the weekend, our high temperatures will rise a good 30 degrees, and that's not even considering the wind chill values. Now, it's going to be a cold week, but a mainly dry week. There might be a few flakes that fly late Wednesday into Wednesday night. A little trough of low pressure will cause the clouds to increase on Wednesday. And if you look at Pinpoint Predictor, yeah, there's a few flurries around Green Bay Wednesday afternoon into Wednesday night. But other than a little candy coating here and there, I don't think there's any reason to break out the shovels or the snow blowers. I expect a similar situation as we go into Friday night as some milder air moves its way into the Midwest. So it looks like as we go through the rest of this month, I mean, I know this doesn't quite take you to the very first day of March, there's a pretty good chance that we're going to have drier than normal weather after seeing a lot of snow over the first half of February. In fact, just over the past 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we managed to get about 7.2 inches of snow in Green Bay, which has actually kind of pushed our seasonal totals not back to normal, but closer to normal compared to what we should have for this point in winter.
It can never just be a gradual, a couple inches here, a few inches there, Steve. It's just all dumped on at once and then Arctic temperatures after it too.
It's feast or famine. That's pretty much how it's been with our snowfall so far this winter.
And you mentioned as well, a big shout out to the road crews.
Absolutely.
Who have
they
been
did
out
a
there.
lot of work over the weekend.
So much work. And hopefully, Steve, like you mentioned with that next Sunday, potentially 36 degrees, that'll feel like almost a 50-degree swing with the wind chills and whatnot. So that'll be quite the warm-up for everybody out there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That'll be a big change, and perhaps some of our plow crews that have been working really hard can get a little bit of a breather for at least a few days as it stays cold but dry.
All right, they've earned it. You've earned a breather as well. We'll let you go get ready for Action 2 News mid-morning. Steve, thanks so much.
Yep.
You can join Steve and Aisha at 9 o'clock on Action 2 News mid-morning with all the latest information taking place on this first alert weather day. Now we want to bring your attention to some very interesting developments with the Consumer First Alert. Snowball scams, and this is not talking about the weather that we've had there. This is just a nice play on words for all the snow that we had this weekend. Tammy.
Absolutely, yeah. It's really talking about scams that have many layers to them. And with that, as you're seeing on the screen here, they start small and then snowball into a bigger, more elaborate scheme. And the result is the Department of Ag, Trade, and Consumer Protection tells me that people have lost several thousands dollars, but some have lost hundreds of thousands of dollars, and one case up to $500,000, someone in Wisconsin. And
which is an incredible number. These are not
really
small
is.
workings here.
And one of the things I asked, so what's happening with this? And he said, a lot of us, we talk about the scams that are happening, the text messages and the phone calls. And so those single scams are becoming less effective. So basically the scammers have to
I like
change.
that line because that means people are listening to your
They're
reports,
listening.
right? They're knowing what to look for and what to avoid. That's good news.
It is good. It is good. The issue with this is that they're scammers are flipping this a little bit, and while maybe that first attempt doesn't work, they're coming in with a second and then sometimes a third. And these are things that really they create kind of it's either an urgent issue or they play on emotion, something really bad that's happening. You know, your identity's been stolen and your accounts have been hacked, or your identity's been stolen and now the person is using your identity to commit crimes and you're in trouble. Or on the opposite end, you've won a big lottery but you need to pay fees. And these are some of the things, the typical scams that we talk about, but Consumer Protection says that the scammers on the phone are really becoming very good at the language that they use, and they have a script, and you might get one phone call and then get another phone call, and what they do is they kind of create the problem or the scam, and then the last call comes in and they basically say that they're going to help you, that you've been scammed, we know you've lost money, in some cases a lot of money, and then that person will say that they're even with Consumer Protection or they're with the FBI, and they will pretend to be someone who's going to help you. And that's where sometimes that last hit, if you will, the last scam attempt gets people. And so they really just wanted to let people know that even if you're involved and you kind of, and this doesn't necessarily just happen in a few days.
Sure.
Michael Domke with the Consumer Protection, he told me that sometimes this is going on for a couple of months, and that they might start getting small amounts of money and then get into bigger amounts, that you just need to stop the communication. And sometimes people have questioned. They've thought, well, this sounds a little suspicious, but then there's something that happens later that makes them believe this. And some of that, again, is that language or the threat or the urgency that they say. And this isn't, I want to point this out because I think sometimes we listen to this and we go, how could anybody really fall for that?
Yeah.
It's happening. They're getting better at this. They use AI, artificial intelligence, the techniques that they use, follow-up emails and phone calls and text messages.
These are people it's their sole purpose is to steal money from folks.
Sadly, confirmation, numbers and emails and all of that. They will really work this in to sound like a really believable plot or scheme, and people do believe it. So a couple of things. Stop. Think about it. Ask someone else. Ask someone who, I might say, does this sound right? And he said that's really the big thing. Stop and think. And even if you're into it and you've lost some money, contact someone, contact law enforcement. You can call Consumer Protection, and it's really never too late to report this.
Sure.
And there's some embarrassment that goes with it. I know sometimes I talk with family. People will call me, and I say, do you have a family member to talk to? And sometimes they say, I don't really want to tell my family about this. So you have to kind of put that aside and go to the officials and let them know. They investigate these, and a lot of times they'll find, it's not just happening in Wisconsin, it's happening across the nation. And they have resources, and you might not be able to get your money back. I mean, we're talking about things like paying with gift cards.
Sure.
That's really hard to recoup if you're getting them your bank account information, you're wiring money, those kind of things. Anytime anybody's asking you to pay money urgently or transfer funds, that's a scam.
And like you said too, when people speak up,
Right.
even if it's not getting, which hopefully they're able to recover something, but if it doesn't, it helps the officials focus in on these individuals, these bad actors,
Right.
and
Track
try
it
and
down.
stop this
Right.
and avoid it happening to other people.
Absolutely, and that's and you might not feel like, that embarrassment factor, but you might not feel like you want to share that, but it's so important, and it's happening. I've talked to a lot of people who say, listen, I'm well educated. I've talked with people who work in cybersecurity, and they say, I believed this. So,
It
I
just
just
shows
want
how good they are.
point that out. So I have a whole report on snowball scams, and nothing to do with the weather, but just the timing of it happened to be coincidental.
It worked
with,
out well, yeah.
the big snowfall over the weekend.
Absolutely.
So I have that posted at WBAY.com under my Consumer First Alerts. Always trying to help you and keep you up to date on these, and just reach out to someone and stop and think.
And good reminders as you start a new busy work week.
Right.
So definitely something to go check out there. Something else hopefully you'll want to check out this Thursday. We're headed to Sheboygan
Ooh,
for
look at
Small
that.
Towns. This is not me.
Okay, that's
Just
what
want
I
to
was
just want to clarify that. I did not. I do enjoy taking part in some of the different adventures and small towns activities that I've been able to go on, but there was not really a great surfing
Right.
atmosphere. Yeah, there wasn't a great swell going on when we were there. So we have some awesome photos and
But people
videos
surf in the winter?
all 12 months out of the
Wow,
year. Sheboygan,
okay.
Sheboygan is a surf town. They call themselves the Malibu of the Midwest. But we spoke with the owner and operator of EO Surf Shop in Sheboygan. It's Wisconsin's first surf shop,
Nice.
if you didn't know that. And I certainly didn't until he did
didn't
this
either.
story. And he says that they're so dedicated that they just, within the drop of a hat, within an hour, they need to be able to say, okay, there's a good swell, let's head out to the lake
They
and
go
go.
for it.
And he said that actually these like warm suits that this person is wearing right here, he said they almost work too well. Like you're sweating in that suit and you enjoy the water that gets on your face. It kind of cools you off a little
Okay.
bit. But quite the surfing scene in Wisconsin. We're going to
Love that.
touch on all of that coming up on Small Towns this week on Thursday. So, Small Town Sheboygan is a surf town. So
that.
I didn't know it. I know you said you weren't
had
really
no
familiar
idea.
with it either. So we'll talk with the owner there. We'll talk with one of the surfers who has grown up in Sheboygan, really enjoys getting out
great.
in the water there. And speaking of being out on the water, let's take another look at our sturgeon spearers who are still out on Lake Winnebago in Sheboygan. The season continuing to go strong. We heard a report of I believe it was 144.5 pound
was the
sturgeon
largest
over the
one this
weekend.
weekend.
Incredible.
They had several over 100 pounds.
Steve Balon joked that's almost as big as he is. So Yeah, quite incredible. Wishing all those sturgeon spearers well as that season continues. So glad that they were able to get out on the ice this year after a horrible 2024 season. Hope you all have a wonderful week. Make sure to stay warm, bundle up, check in on your friends, family, and neighbors, and spread some kindness as well. It's National Random Act of Kindness Day. So, I don't know, do something kind. Hold the door for someone, buy their coffee, smile, anything good. Have a good Monday, everybody.